Welcome to this series of 120 Agile practice questions. These practice questions were part of a PMI-ACP mock exam for my new ACP course. Check the link below for that course. You can also use these questions to practice for a PMP exam, since PMP also includes Agile. Now, these questions will test your knowledge of Agile concepts and the famous Agile mindset. So make sure you have a good grasp of them before you do them. I'm Andrew Ramdial, by the way. I am the author of Amazon's best-selling PMP study guide, and I've taught over 600,000 students to pass their certification exams. Now, these questions, we're going to be releasing them in sets of 20. Like this video is going to be questions 1 to 20, and then the next video is going to be 21 to 40. So please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like so we can continuously make more content like this. At the end, we'll do a full 120 question release video in there. Now, these questions, I'm just going to go straight into reading them and answering them right away. So the moment you see them, pause the video, read it, see if you can get it right, and then if you get it right, you can just move on. If not, hear me give you the explanations. If you can score an 80% on these questions, I'm pretty sure you're going to pass your ACP exam and or your PMP Agile portion of it. All right, have some fun in these questions, and I'll see you guys in the question review. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing up we have question 1. And we got a long one, all the way to 120. Question 1. Midway through development, a compliance officer reminds the Agile project manager that the project must meet strict data privacy regulations by launch. The team hasn't yet addressed these requirements and is planning to implement them all at the end of development. What should the PM do? Add a final compliance sprint at the end of the release schedule to handle all regulatory tasks. Okay. Ask the compliance officer to submit a change request for review during the next planning cycle. C. Track compliance risks separately and monitor them until development is complete. Work with the product owner to integrate regulatory compliance work into the product backlog and deliver it incrementally. So the best answer here, by the way, if you should pause the video as I read the question, and you can read it along with me. Because the moment I'm done, I'm just going to put the answer on. So the best answer here is going to be D, and here's why. So this is compliance work. It's still considered work, and it should still be part of the product backlog. It shouldn't just be something that the team is going to add into the end on their own. The only person that can add work is the product owner, and the product owner needs to add this in order for them to prioritize it. They may prioritize it somewhat in the beginning, middle, end. That's going to be up to the product owner, but it should be there. First of all, it's compliance, and it has to be there. It's not something that you're going to be handling. This is when you're adding it. There's no change requests in a Agile project. Track compliance issues separately and monitor them. No, they're part of the project. They're not tracked separately, making D best answer. Question 2. An Agile team is preparing for the next release planning session. A senior developer points out that a key third-party integration may not be available on time and could cause downstream delays. The feature relying on this integration is highly visible and central to customer satisfaction. What should the PM do? Reassign the developer to focus on less risky stories until the integration is resolved. Identify the integration delay as a risk, assess its impact, and plan mitigation strategy during the release planning. Remove the feature from the upcoming release and replace it with a lower risk enhancement. Escalate the concern to the executive sponsor and request directions before moving forward. This is kind of a tricky question because you have to read it carefully to understand that this is something that may or may not happen. So notice, may not be available. So it may be available or it may not be available. So we want to understand that when something has a potential, it may or may not happen, this thing is considered a risk. So what you want to do is you want to be able to identify this as a risk and assess its impact and respond to it. You shouldn't just take an action against it, like reassigning the developers or removing the feature, and you shouldn't give away work. Part of the mindset is don't give away your work. You should fix your work yourself. So keep that in mind. If you have a question on your exam that says give away the work, let somebody else solve it, it's probably never the answer. Remember that. But when it comes to risk, identify risk, assess risk, and respond to risk is the general consensus on this. Question 3. While managing a distributed agile team, a project manager observes delays in feedback loops and a growing misalignment between stakeholder expectations and project outcomes. Several stakeholders are missing meetings and team members are unsure whether their updates are being seen or understood. What should the project manager implement to strengthen ongoing stakeholder communication and visibility? All right. Increase the number of formal stakeholder status report and require acknowledgements. B, schedule more frequent video meetings and require full attendance from all stakeholder groups. Assign a liaison to each stakeholder group to relay project outcomes and concerns. Use information radiators to make project progress goals and issues visible in real time. Okay, the best answer here, now remember, you got to think low tech, high touch. This is the best answer. Here's why. You notice several stakeholders are missing meetings. The team members are unsure whether their updates are being seen. This is keyword right here, and understood. So maybe the best thing here we could do is use more. Maybe we could use a task board, Kanban board, some kind of burn up and burn down charts would be best here. That way people can see the progress that's happening. You just don't want to increase meetings, as that may increase burden on your team. Or even video meetings. I mean, A and B is technically the same answer. Both of them are meetings. One is video. A liaison, you just don't want to just give away the work to somebody else to update them. I think, remember, think low tech, high touch to get this one correct. Question 4. A product owner is debating which prioritization method to use for backlog grooming. One stakeholder prefers Moscow and the other suggests 100-point method, while a third wants to use Kano analysis. The Agile project manager wants to keep the team moving without focusing on the method. What should the Agile PM do? Require the use of Moscow since it's most commonly taught method. Remind the team that the goal is a clear, agreed upon list of prioritized features, regardless of technique. Ask the team to vote on their preferred technique before proceeding. Combine all three methods to create a hybrid scoring system. Guys, the best answer here is you got to understand that whether you're using Moscow, 100-point method, or Kano analysis, the objective is just to come up with some kind of agreed list based on some kind of value system that they're going to be doing. You shouldn't just say, hey, go with Moscow or use something that they prefer, combine. There's really no combine them. I'm not sure how you would combine all of those. But understand that the best answer here is to tell them, hey, regardless of whatever we go with, it's not one is not going to be better than the other. The best one is that's going to give us the list of prioritized features, making B best answer. Question 5. Midway through a complex project, the Agile project manager discovers that a major risk previously deemed low priority is now likely to impact the final delivery date. The team is currently focused and highly productive, and the delay isn't guaranteed, but it's possible. The PM knows the client expects on-time delivery and is weighing whether to wait for more certainty before bringing it up. What should the Agile PM do? Be transparent with the client and communicate the potential risk, even if the impact is still uncertain. Wait until the next sprint, when more information will be available to discuss possible schedule changes. Monitor the situation closely, but avoid raising an alarm unless the risk materializes. Work with the team to address the risk internally and only escalate if the mitigation efforts fail. The best thing here, this is going to go into part of the mindset where I tell you guys the best thing you can do is to be honest, always to communicate what is happening on the project to the actual teams themselves, to the actual stakeholders. So the client expects on time and is weighing whether to bring it up. So if you have something that's going to be late, let the client know, hey, there is a potential risk that this product will be late. Don't wait until the next sprint. Inform the client, all right? And don't avoid it. Anytime you're trying to push off bad news is not the answer. If you're when doing your exam, look at the choices. And if it seems that you're saying, okay, for me to do that, it's going to be hard on me because I'm going to have to, it's telling the truth. It's going to be hard on me. I might get in trouble. It's probably going to be the answer, because sometimes the hardest thing is the right thing, which is A. Question 6. An Agile team is struggling to meet sprint commitments. During retrospectives, team members express confusion about task progress and dependencies, and newer members hesitate to speak up or suggest improvements. The Agile project manager wants to foster openness and continuous improvement while supporting team confidence and learning. What should the Agile PM do? Introduce a visible task board and invite the team to update it regularly during daily stand-ups. All right. Schedule additional one-on-one coaching sessions to help quieter team members feel more confident. Encourage the team to keep experimenting and not worry about failures as long as they deliver. All right. Ask the product owner to step in and clarify roles and dependencies in the backlog. All right, guys, the best answer here you are going to have, notice, foster open continuous improvement while supporting the team. What's the best thing here we can do is to do a task board. Invite them to update it regularly. This is probably going to be one of the best things you can do. You notice that you want to have open and continuous improvements. You want to support their learning. Team members, but the really giveaway to this answer is, you notice it says confusion about task progress and dependencies. Okay, one-on-one coaching sessions is not going to help them solve this problem. Neither is encouraging them, and you should never ask someone to step in. Never ask somebody to step in to solve your problem. If there's a choice of giving away the problem to someone else, it's probably not going to be the answer. That's why I'm making A the best answer. Question. During a tense sprint review, a senior stakeholder blames the team for delays and dismisses their explanations. The project manager notices that the stakeholder reacts defensively and refuses to listen to feedback. What behavior zone does this situation exemplify? All right. Red zone, team misalignment zone, conflict escalation, communication breakdown zone. Okay, there's really just two zones that are out there. You have red zone and you have a green zone. The red zone is where people are defensive, they're resistant, they're blaming everyone, they're very combative, is a red zone. Green zone is when they accept blame, they take accountability, they're listening to feedback. These really don't actually exist here. So the best answer here was red zone. Remember, you don't want people in the red zone. You want them to be in the green zone. Making A best answer. Question number 8. A team is preparing for the final release of a new product. Some stakeholders suggest waiting until all core functionality is built before delivering anything to customers, arguing that early releases might lead to confusion or rework. The Agile PM wants to support Agile principles while addressing these concerns. What should the Agile PM do? Agree to delay release until the product is complete to maintain stakeholder satisfaction. Add a separate testing phase at the end of the project to minimize potential confusion. Conduct a one-time pilot test before releasing the full product. Emphasize incremental delivery to get working features into a test environment early and gather feedback. I think this one here is pretty straightforward. As long as you understand the Agile mindset, the Agile mentality of releasing things as soon as possible and getting feedback as soon as possible, you should have gotten this one correct. Make indeed the best answer. You don't want to wait for something to be done, especially like a one-time test. Add a separate test. This is not something you're going to do, something the team should be doing. And you shouldn't delay the release. The faster we can get things out there, the faster we can get feedback. The faster we get feedback is the faster we fix things and see if we're meeting the customer's requirement. Making D best answer. Question 9. During a sprint retrospective, the team decides to experiment with a new approach to reduce the time spent fixing integration issues. They agree to monitor the results and make adjustments after the next sprints based on what they learn. What concepts does this approach best reflect? Servant leadership, Kaizen, continuous deployment, or sprint review? Well, this one here is continuous learning. The Kaizen is all about a continuous improvement, continuous learning approach. Servant leadership is more of a leadership mentality. for a single person of how to manage a team. Continuous deployment is pushing out software on a continuous basis. And sprint review is reviewing what was done in the sprint. The only thing here that deals with them making improvements and learning is B, Kaizen. Question 10. A project manager wants to gauge how strongly the team supports a proposed change to the iteration schedule. Rather than asking for a simple yes or no, the PM wants a more nuanced sense of consensus and potential concern. What preparatory model does the project manager use? Simple voting, silent brainstorming, consensus workshop, or the fist of five? So you want something here. It's more than just a yes or a no, right? So it's not going to be like a simple voting. Brainstorming is more to solve issues. A consensus workshop is just to actually bring everybody together and say that's the way we want it. So you have fist of five. So the fist of five is going to be where you can have 5 levels instead of yes or no, which is just yes or no, something like that, or 0 on 1, yes or no. The other one, the fist of five, you'll have 5 different options. Sometimes you're going to say, well, I agree to that, or I somewhat agree to that, or I'm on board with this, somewhat on board, I really like it, I don't like it, I really don't like it, or I completely against it. So you have more of a in between, you have an end, you have a beginning, you have somewhere in between those things. Making fist of five, best answer. Question 11. A Scrum team is preparing to begin work on a new product increment. What should the team do before starting to ensure they have a shared understanding of when work is considered complete? Finalize the schedule for the sprint planning and stand-up meetings. Get approval from the product owner for all upcoming user stories. Establish a shared definition of done that applies to all work. Assign developers to tasks based on their availability and expertise. Now you notice, to ensure they have a shared understanding of when work is considered done, for that to happen, they need to have a definition of done. So the definition of done tells the team, okay, when are we going to be finished? Like, what needs to happen for it to be done? Like, if they're making software, does it have to perform a certain way? Does it have to output a certain number? Does it have to do a particular task? How do we know that when we have finished producing that requirement? This is something that you're going to have to work with the product owner, the customers with, and the team to ensure they have a shared understanding. It's not about a schedule or gaining approval or assigning developers. Not because you gain approval from the product owner doesn't mean that the team knows exactly what needs to get done, or the team has a good understanding of the work that they have to get done. Making C best answer. Number 12. You're supporting a large Agile program consisting of multiple cross-functional teams. Each team is following Agile, but there's frequent delays due to miscommunication and lack of coordination between them. What should you do to improve alignment and collaboration across the teams? Assign a project manager to supervise the work of all teams and consolidate communication. Instruct all teams to follow the same Agile framework and cadence for consistency. Identify inter-team coordination needs and establish a suitable structure such as Scrum of Scrums. Consolidate all teams into one central team to eliminate coordination. Now, there's one thing we know is when we utilize an Agile, you don't want big teams. You want to keep, if you can have multiple teams working on a big project, it's fine. Then the best thing here to do is to set up something like a Scrum of Scrum. Use the different Agile methods that supports large teams, scaled Agile, and so on, or SAFe. So utilize the Agile methods that supports bigger teams or larger teams would be the best answer here. Assign a project manager to supervise all works. That's not following the principles of Agile. That goes against the whole concept of servant leadership. You don't want them all to follow, because not one framework is not best for all of them. They have different frameworks that they can use depending on what they're working on. That's a great thing about Agile, that you can change it up as needed. Consolidate all teams into one centralized team. This would be too much. This would be a giant team and it would go against Agile principles. Making C best answer. Question. A new stakeholder joins an Agile project during its early stages and expresses confusion about the team's flexible approach. The lack of a detailed upfront plan and the frequent changes in requirements. The stakeholder asks the Agile project manager to explain how this approach still delivers value and maintains control over the project. What should the Agile PM do? So you notice in this one here, expresses confusion, flexible team approach, lack of detailed upfront plan and frequent changes. This is everything Agile is doing. Explain that Agile emphasizes collaboration, respond to change and deliver work solutions incrementally. All right. Emphasize the importance of time box and iterative delivery as tools for managing project scope and risk. All right. Highlight that the Agile framework avoid upfront planning because requirements always change. All right. Share examples of past Agile projects that successfully handle change in requirements and produce value early. Now, this is a tough question because technically all of those answers are correct. They all pretty much, it's all true on what Agile. When you have a question where you have a lot of correct answer, like 100% correct, choose the answer that is broad and includes all of them. Because choosing one correct one is going to be like, okay, then this one is more correct than the other. Let's go with A here. You know why? Because collaboration, responding to changes, deliver working solution. So responding to changes, collaboration will include managing the scope, will include why we avoid upfront planning, because you know what? We always changing requirements. That's that responding to change. And yes, you don't necessarily have to go in and say, hey, you know, from previous projects. So let's just eliminate that one. But A basically includes B and C, making A the best answer. So always remember that when you have questions where the choices are very similar or they're all absolutely, you're 100% sure they're absolutely correct, go with the choice that includes all the others. Question 14. During an Agile project, the team receives regular feedback from customers that prompts adjustments to both the product direction and development process. The team responds by refining their backlog and adapting new techniques to better meet customer needs. What Agile behavior is the team demonstrating? Build in a shared vision to avoid conflict. All right. Maintain consistent velocity. Completing work exactly as planned. Embracing change and adapting both process and product direction. All right, what do we got here? This one here, pretty easy. You notice that it does say the team responds by refining the backlog and adapting new techniques. So what are they doing? They're embracing change. This is the great thing about Agile, is we're always changing those requirements. We are manipulating the way we do work almost every sprint, because in a retrospective, we'll say, hey, we don't like this, or we should change this, things of that nature. So D is better the answer here. It's not just about, there's nothing here about a shared vision. They're talking about refining the product backlog, refining their backlog, could be their sprint backlog. Consistent velocity, we're not sure why this doesn't apply here, because they're talking about new techniques. Completing work exactly as planned during the sprint. That is true, but it does say you're refining your backlog. So that would eliminate that, making D the best answer. Question. An Agile project manager observes that the team is consistently delivering high quality work, but several members appeared overworked and they're regularly working late to meet the sprint goals. At the same time, the client is extremely pleased with the velocity and wants to maintain the current pace. The team hasn't voiced any concerns. Okay, so they have not voiced any concern. And their energy seems to be decreasing. And the burn down chart suggests they're taking on more than they can sustain. So what should you do? Adjust the team workload for the next sprint to create a more sustainable pace. Okay. Meet with the team, both the team and the client, to discuss balance and delivery with the team well-being. Acknowledge the client satisfaction and continue with the current pace unless the team formally raises concern. All right. Have a private conversation with the team to assess if they feel overburdened or are facing hidden pressures. Now, it's really two good answers. I'm going to eliminate I'm going to eliminate two. You should not go in and adjust the sprint. That the team should be doing. And you shouldn't do nothing. You shouldn't just say, oh, everything is good and let the team continuously. You know it's leading to a bad result in the end. So you're basically, should you meet with the team and the client to discuss it? Or should you just meet with the team and to assess if they feel overburdened or challenging? Now, don't meet with the team and just see if they feel overburdened. We know they're overburdened. The thing is, it's not a sustainable pace. Part of, if you're following certain things such as XP or extreme programming, we need to have a sustainable pace, and this is unsustainable. So the best thing here we can do is to meet with the client, meet with the team and say, hey, this is an unsustainable pace. How would we fix this? Making B best answer. Question. You're leading a product development initiative with multiple stakeholders requesting various features. To manage expectations and provide clarity on when features may be delivered, the product owner wants to communicate high-level plans without committing to specific dates. What tool or artifact should the product owner use? Sprint backlog, product roadmap, release burndown chart, product increment. Best thing here, guys, it's going to be the product roadmap. So the product roadmap is very high level. It doesn't really have any dates. It's just saying that this is going to come out, then this is going to come out, then this is going to come out. It doesn't have to have a specific date. Sometimes it could just say August 25 is going to have this, June 26, February 27 is going to have this. I'm talking years and those numbers, by the way. So it basically tells you what features or what features will be included in what release in the roadmap. The sprint backlog is a very particular thing. It's what they commit to. The release burndown is going to say what work hasn't. This is going to say what work we basically did or what is left. Product increment, this is just what we are releasing here. That has nothing to do there. So the best answer here was B. Question. A project manager, 17 by the way, is analyzing factors that influence the cost and success of software development using the COCOMO model or the cost constructive model. The model indicates that people-related factors are dramatically more impactful than tools or processes. What conclusion to support? Process optimization is more valuable than individual skills. The right tool can compensate for skills gap. Software costs are primarily driven by automation efficiency. People factor have a greater influence on project success. Yes. In fact, it is a lot more. I forgot the numbers we covered in the video. I think it was 3 to 11. I think the people was like 11 and the other one was 3, something like that. Or it was 33 and 11, something like that. Any which way, the people factor is much more important than the tools. You can in the video I did mention this statement by saying you can have great people and bad processes and tools and they can output something amazing, but you can have bad people and the greatest processes and tools and end up with something really bad. So the people factor is one of the most important aspects of developing good software. Process automation is more valuable? No, not necessarily. People is more valuable than anything else. Question. A new Agile project involves several departments with competing interests. The product backlog contains a long list of features, and each stakeholder group wants their items prioritized first. To avoid conflict and create alignment, the project manager wants to involve everyone in a structured, collaborative prioritization. What should the Agile PM do? Ask the department head to nominate a representative to rank features. Okay. Use Moscow features to define what features are must-have or should have. Facilitate a workshop using .vote and 100 point to distribute prioritization inputs among stakeholders. Decide the priority order based on features that are least expensive. So right off the bat, I know we're going to eliminate D without going even farther and really discussing more, because that's not your job. You don't prioritize. That's for the product owner. That's for the customers to do, not for you to do. The best answer here is not A or B. It is C. Here's why. So right now, everybody's saying that their feature is high prioritized. So if you use the Moscow and you say must have or should have, then everybody's just going to say it's a must have and it's not a should have. So not the best answer. But if you give everybody a point and they all put 100 point on their feature, it's not going to add up correctly. You know what I mean? So let's say you got 5 people. And this guy is going to put 100 point on his own, but nobody else is going to put 100 point on his own. So you get more of a distributed prioritization. And then people are going to have to know how to apply the number of points they have or the dots that they're given. So this here would be a better way than just using top of the list or bottom of the list, which is going to be that must have or should have. Ask the department head. No, everybody should be involved. We want people to be involved, not be pushed away. Question. During a planning session, 2 senior developers strongly disagree on which architect to use for a new feature. The project manager encourages both to explain their reasoning, helps them evaluate trade-off, and guide them towards a mutually agreeable solution. What skill is the PM applying here? Well, you notice, explain their reasoning, helps them evaluate, and guides them towards a agreeable solution. Best answer here is they're negotiating. All right. Why are you and how are you doing this? Now, you notice that, first of all, there is a disagreement on the architect to use for a new feature. They're given and taken here. Hey, you tell me what you want here. They're really not having a conflict. Like they're really not trying to kill each other in this one. It's not active listening. In this case, you're just listening. You're actively engaged in it. You're not just facilitating it and having them communicate. You're more directly involved in it. So you're more negotiating. You're helping them negotiate. What are you applying? You're applying the skill of negotiating. Now you notice, if you're saying, Andrew, I still don't get that. Well, the last part gives it away. Towards a mutually agreeable solution. The only time you guide people for a mutually agreed solution is you want to negotiate with them so the solution is good for both of us. Now you can D, best answer. Number 20. During a sprint, the Agile project manager notices that team members are frequently interrupting each other to ask about the status of various tasks. Despite regular stand-ups, there is still confusion about which works are blocked or nearing completion. The team currently does not use any visual workflow. What should you recommend? Increase the length of the daily stand-up to allow for more detailed updates. Introduce a Kanban to make workflow visible to facilitate continuous status. Schedule twice a day team meet check-ins to ensure information is regularly updated. Assign a team member to track task progress. Best answer here, guys. You notice it tells you they don't have a visual workflow and you want that, preferably that low-tech, high-touch. So I think B here would be your best answer. You don't want to increase the meetings. That's what these are doing. Remember, meetings is considered anti-value. Assign a team member to track progress and send daily status emails. This here would give work here. A Kanban would do everything. Okay? They're frequently interrupting each other to ask the status. Well, in a Kanban, you don't need to ask for status because you'll know what they're working on. You'll know what's finished, what hasn't got done, but just by looking at it. This here will solve all the problems in this particular question, making B the best answer.